Hello everybody. Thanks very much for joining us today on Ask Your Academic. Today's session is going to cover the MSc Brain Sciences, MSc Clinical Neuropsychology, MSc Psychological Science Conversion, and MSc Research Methods of Psychological Science. We're joined by a number of our academics and programme leads for those programmes today. So we have Dr. Phil McAleer, Dr. Guillaume Rousselet, and Dr. Maxine Swingler. Unfortunately, Dr. Jessica Fish has sent her apologies today, but she has provided some answers to the questions that we've had submitted, so we'll be sure to cover them off. Our session today is being recorded. That link will be sent to you a couple of days after today's session, just to allow you to re-watch anything if you missed anything during the session. We've got the chat box functionality on the webinar. So if there's anything that you think of during the session, please feel free to pop it in there and we'll try and get to those questions as well. We've also got some helpful links there, so I'll pop them in there for you so you've got them. If after the session you have any further questions, you can contact your programme administrator. Those details are on the programme web pages on our website, but I'll also drop them in that chat box just for ease. I think that covers off everything and we can get started. We've got just 30 minutes on our session today, so short and sweet, so we'll try and cover as much as we can. And as we answer the different questions, hopefully you get to know your academics a bit more. We do have some presentation slides prepared, so we'll try and make sure we answer the questions in the right order to avoid any technical hiccups. So if it's all right with everybody, I think we'll get started on our first question. So first up, we've got, as students with applied psychology background, what preparation can better adapt to the study of brain sciences? And I think that's for yourself, Guillaume, if you want to take that one.
Hi, folks. So if you've got a background in psychology, brain sciences has much more coverage of topics in neuroscience and cognitive brain imaging. So the best way for you to get started is to look at our reading list. So I'm putting some links in the chat. Or if you Google Glasgow reading list, there's a place where we put all the documentation you should be familiar with and things you can do to get started on some of the courses. You can type the code for your course or just the name, search for the name of a particular course. So if you've got a background in applied psychology, I recommend you look at everything related to fundamentals of neuroscience. And I'll give you a good idea of resources to get started on that topic.
Perfect, thank you. I think we're coming back to you on this one. How many hours will be spent on practicals?
So practicals depends. Semester one, there is a lot going on in computer room for the statistic data skills training. When it comes to cognitive brain imaging, there'll be a guided tour of the facilities and so on, but it is not such thing as really practicals. But if you do, most of the practicals really will be the research projects. So if you pick a research project in brain imaging or animal neuroscience, that's where you do all your lab work, really. There's, for everything animal related, you need a license to be able to work in some of the labs, so we can't really do practicals that way. But there will be some labs throughout the year, but it's not the main component of the course.
Perfect, thank you. Oh, another one for you. Do you have any advice for students joining the Brain Sciences MSc without psych or bio undergrad, i.e. computer science?
Yeah, so with a computing science background, you'll be really well prepared for everything related to brain imaging, because a lot of it is related to data science, sort of big data approaches to statistics and the statistics courses. What you need to prepare for is catching up on everything neuroscience. So again, go have a look at the reading list, and in particular, look at everything detailed in fundamentals of neuroscience research. There has in particular 2 textbooks that are recommended, and I strongly recommend that you go through these 2 textbooks before joining joining the program, because otherwise it's going to be a big step up for you to catch up on all the neuroscience aspects from molecular to molecular level to behavior, really.
Perfect, thank you. We'll give you a rest now. Phil, will come to you for this one. I wish to know more about the programme modules and structure.
Yeah, excuse me, sorry, great way to start. Hi, everybody. Yeah, no, I think, so one thing that Guillaume suggests there on the top of that link is the webpage for all the reading lists, which is really good to have a look at in terms of getting to know the different courses. The other thing that you can do, which I would recommend, is looking at the course catalogue, which is just a link I put in the box there, in the chat box there. And it shows you all the kind of ILOs, all the kind of assessments, or the general assessment idea for each of the different modules that you'll do in brain sciences and research methods, or with Maxine's course as well. In terms of the actual structure of RMLPS, the other thing to look at would just be the main page. And as you can see, again, on that link in the webpage there, that's split into core modules and optional modules. The one that's currently showing on the webpage is last year's structure, and we're trying to bring in a couple of changes for next year, which I'm more than happy to chat to people about in a couple of weeks once we get it confirmed. And you're more than welcome to drop me an email, or we'll arrange a Zoom or something like that. But effectively, how it works is you have about 5 or 6 core modules, which take up about 90 credits to 100 credits. You then have your dissertation, which takes up another 60 credits. And then you choose between 1, 2, or 3 optional modules, depending on how the structure looks next year. So it'll be a mix of core modules for about 90 credits, dissertation for about 60, and then some optional credits to make it up to 180. But having a look at the course catalogue and the kind of what's optional and what's core would be a really good start for now. But do get in touch if you have any more questions about that.
Perfect. Have we got any other academics want to chip anything in there on that one? Or will we get to that potentially? Maxine, I think you've got a slide that kind of covers that. Yeah. I've got some information here from Dr. Jessica Fish on the MSc Clinical Neuropsychology. So she said that the academic teaching is organised into 8 courses, which are taught in 4 two-week blocks spread over 1 year, and that's for full-time students, or 2 years for part-time students. Most students opt for the full-time programme, but a small number of people have completed the programme in 2 years. And the 8 courses are as follows: Context and Perspectives in Neuropsychology, Professional Practice and Research Methods, Neuroscience, Epilepsy, Seizure and Sleep Disorders, Acquired Brain Injury and Disorders of Attention, Memory and Executive Functioning, Degenerative Conditions, Stroke and Disorders of Language, Praxis, Perception and Calculation, Pediatric Neuropsychology, and outside the teaching blocks, you'll participate in a series of weekly small group tutorials linked to the lecture topics. Oof, that was a mouthful. So I think next up, I think we'll come to yourself, Maxine, for this one. For projects, will we choose from a selection or be assigned one based on our interests?
Okay, thanks, Naomi, and hi everyone. Nice to hear you or hear your questions today. I've got a few slides that kind of answer some of the questions because the answers are a bit involved. Is it okay if I share my screen now, Naomi?
Yeah, you should be able to share your screen.
Okay, great. Okay, so can everyone see some slides? Perfect, okay. You never quite get used to this, even if you've been doing it for a while. Okay, yeah, so the question about the projects being assigned. So you will get a choice of research projects from a range of supervisors. We have many staff in the school that supervise MSc conversion projects. So there's quite a wide variety to choose from. We also offer particular project titles depending on your streams, whether you're in clinical, called neuroscience, or the non-specialised general stream. You will be asked to select a number of projects and rank them in order of preference. And then we have an app which generally is able to allocate you a project supervisor and title according to your top 3 choices. Occasionally it's not, but we negotiate with the supervisor and student in those cases. All of this happens either right at the end of semester 1 or the beginning of semester 2, because you're very busy with your modules and courses and assessments in semester 1. So we don't actually start the dissertation until semester 2. We'll give you some formative deadlines to help keep you on track. We've got online support and support sessions as well. And then the final dissertation is submitted in the middle of August.
Perfect, thank you. And Phil, Guillaume, have you got anything else you would like to throw into that?
I can jump in there. Sorry, Guillaume, I saw your mic
Yeah.
just get on. Just to say, on research methods of psych science from MSc, how we do it is slightly different in that you have to have a supervisor signed up and agreed before starting the course. And if you're holding a conditional offer, then drop me an email, and then we start the process of trying to get your supervisor before actually starting the course. We try to make sure that everyone who comes onto the course is doing a project that is fitting with their kind of research interest going ahead, sort of thing. So we don't assign you one. We kind of ask you to do a bit of legwork along with us beforehand to get a supervisor before starting the course. So it's just a case of once you get a conditional offer or you have an interest, drop me an email and we can have a chat about it.
Right. For brain sciences, we use a similar system to what Maxine has described. So you'll get a list of projects that are in the areas of the program. So neuroscience, mostly brain imaging, and some psychology projects as well. And you'll choose your 3 favorite projects. And then we have an app that does some magic and try to maximize happiness so that most students get their favorite or second favorite project out of the group. And there's a wide variety of projects, depends from year to year.
Okay, thank you. I've got some information here from Jessica. So she said there are a range of routes to selecting your project. In recent years, the majority of our students have conducted a systematic literature review on an area of their particular interest under the supervision of one of our academics. Sometimes students work on a review of a topic more strongly aligned with the existing interests of their supervisor, though typically this becomes the student's area of interest too. There are also options to undertake projects using existing data available to the supervisor or to undertake an entirely new study. The course team will go through the options and considerations for these during the induction meetings. So our next question, we've got the scope of the degree in terms of jobs, PhDs, etc. And I'll come to you first, Maxine. That's all right.
Okay, yep, thank you, Naomi. I just noticed a typo on that slide. It should say mid-August 2023. We're obviously not asking you to submit your dissertation before you started the programme. Okay, I'll jump to, the next one. So the conversion programme is very much a stepping stone to other careers and qualifications in psychology. It doesn't qualify you as a clinical psychologist or a psychologist per se, but it does allow you to become, go to the next step and apply for example, an MSc in one of the BPS accredited areas such as occupational, forensic, sport and exercise, and so on. And you can have a look at the BPS careers. You just Google BPS careers and you'll find out a bit more about the routes to those particular careers. So that's one popular route after the degree. Others are the research route. We do have quite a few past MSc Psych Science students who are now doing PhDs here in Glasgow or elsewhere. So they've got some experience as a research assistant, perhaps post-graduation, and then got entry into a PhD, or they've been working with their supervisor and they've managed to get a PhD that way. Quite a few of our students want to get more experience in working with particular client groups. So they go into the voluntary or the healthcare sector and use that experience to then help them apply for example, the clinical doctorate programme or the counselling doctorate programmes. Another popular route in recent years is that there's an MSc being a clinical associate in psychology. So conducting therapies and so on in primary practice, primary care. We do have a careers event, usually around about January, just to kind of outline all the options and where our career service can give you support as well.
Great, thank you. Phil, Guillaume, anything you'd like to add there?
I've put a link in the chat to the BNA website that has a great page of resources with careers in neuroscience.
I was just going to add that, like, so the research methods of psych science is obviously geared towards kind of just developing people's research skills in a variety of different fields, quantitative, qualitative, etc. So a lot of people who go into the course tend to kind of are looking towards postgraduate studies, kind of a research associate or MSc, a further MSc, or going into a PhD. A number of people are actually just doing it to develop their data skills and research skills to kind of take industry jobs looking at data. And we've had a few people going into those sort of fields. I think one thing to mention is obviously the one thing that we're really strong on is our teaching of data skills. And I've just put a link in the web chat that shows a lot of the data skills teaching that we do from the quantitative side, that actually shows you a lot of the courses you would, well, it actually shows you all the courses you would do here if you do one of these MSCs. And it's just one kind of thing that people do come to the course just to purely develop those skills for future other industry jobs outside of psychology and neuroscience. But we have a whole variety of reasons people come here and what they go on to after.
Thank you. In terms of the clinical neuropsychology for jobs, PhDs, etc., most of our students return to their home countries and continue their clinical practice in clinical psychology and/or clinical neuropsychology, enhanced by the learning that has taken place on the programme. Other students go on to complete PhDs by research or to work in related clinical roles within the UK. Though note, this requires professional registration with the UK Health and Care Professions Council, and our programme does not in itself confer eligibility for this. Excuse me. So our next question we've got, when will we be able to select our optional modules? And I'll come to you first, Maxine, if that's all right again.
Okay. Right. Okay, so that's my next slide, and I've just given a very quick breakdown of what the optional courses are. And as Phil and Guillaume were saying, if you go to that course catalogue link, you can find out more about what these courses and the types of assessments and learning outcomes involved in them. So in terms of when you would select your optional courses at the same time as you could select your core courses for the programme. So enrolment opens in August and it closes on the 30th of September. So around about 2 weeks after the start of teaching. And you enrol in 3 options. We'll limit it to 3 because we need the 180 credits for the master's programme, and doing any more than that would just be too much in terms of workload. Very briefly, the options that are outlined in red are those that are in the cognitive neuroscience stream. Those in the bright blue are the clinical stream, and those that are not in any particular colour are the general stream. And you can see that health and neuroscience can feature as a clinical option or a neuroscience option.
Great, thanks. Anything else from anyone else?
No, it just says we same on our course, all the kind of courses you have up until about the 30th of September to choose your optional courses. And as Maxine's saying, it is usually within over the first 2 weeks of the term, which means you can also kind of dip in and see if actually you like that option or not and drop it and change it to another option. So you don't have to have made all your decisions by day 1 of the course, basically is what it says. So you can still have a rough idea and then come and go, actually, no, I didn't like that course. I'd rather do this lovely data skills course. So yeah, you have a little bit of freedom at that point.
So for Brain Sciences, the only options are in semester 2. So you'll have plenty of time to make a decision, and there's an option session where people go and present their options for semester 2. So you'll decide late in semester 1 what you want to do in semester 2. So it's plenty of time. Semester 1 is composed of mandatory courses, so you just enroll for them.
Great. And an easy one for clinical neuropsychology, because there are no optional modules for that one. So in terms of, this is actually for brain sciences, but I think it applies to all. Is there any reading that would be helpful to do before the course? Maxine, I don't know if you've got a slide on that one, or if we'll start with Guillaume for that one.
I think we've covered. I think we've covered that one. We have the reading list that, and then it depends on people's background. I mean, depending on the undergrad specialty, people will need to brush up on different topics joining this different programs. So in doubt, I think it's a good idea to get in touch with the program lead and ask for a bit more specific recommendations. But a good starting point is to go for the reading list starting in semester 1.
Okay, and I think we've got a slide on this one. Yeah, so that's quite a common question. We've got a pre-arrival reading list, SWAY, which is on the link tree that all of you should have received in the kind of welcome email. I've added a few other things as well. One of the key things, and Phil touched upon this, is that we do have a really strong focus on research methods, and there's an excellent workbook on fundamentals of quantitative analysis that you'll be working through as part of your research methods training. So we do encourage people to have a look at that. It's open, it's online, you don't have to pay anything for it, and have a go with some of the exercise in working with RStudio. In terms of psychology as a whole, any good introductory textbook is useful. The one that's used currently for our first year undergraduates is the NOVA collection of psychology textbooks. Again, that's open access and free, so you can go and look at that without having to pay anything. If you want a book in your hand, then the Holt or Passer psychology texts are good, and you can get secondhand copies on Amazon. Other things in terms of getting a broader view of what psychology is about, and the research that goes on and current issues. The BPS Psychologist magazine is really good, and you can get sort of little previews of that even if you're not a member, and also the BPS Research Digest, and that's quite a nice way to keep up with research in the field.
Great, thank you. For the MSc Clinical Neuropsychology, we've got a combination of relaxing, having fun, and making all necessary practical arrangements are the best forms of preparation for this programme. This will mean you're ready to immerse yourself in an intensive programme of study. There will also be plenty of reading and other learning opportunities to engage with once you start with us. So that's that one. We've got our next question. What can students expect in their first semester? And Maxine, I'll come to you because I think there's a slide on that one just for ease.
Okay. Yeah, so you'll have your core courses, Research Methods 1, Social Psychology and Human Development in the first semester, and you'll be assessed on those in semester 1 as well. The optional courses don't start until the second half of semester 1, and actually the majority of them are in semester 2, and that helps for students just to get into the way of the subject, the courses, the assessments before you have your optional courses. You'll have weekly lectures, and also a really important part of the lecture courses is what you do outside of that. So your lecturers will provide you or give you weekly learning activities that you either do individually using our Moodle virtual learning environment, or group activities, and that you engage in those outside of the class time and the contact time. We'll also have a Research Methods weekly practical class that will focus on getting you through the projects and assessments that you'll be doing in that semester. So in that, you'll be working with about 25-30 students, and also within smaller project groups as well.
Great, thank you. Phil, have you anything that you'd like to add to that one?
Oh, I was hoping you go to Guillaume first. Yes, no, I remembered a slide I wanted to look at beforehand. In the research method, it's a bit more evenly split across kind of semester 1, semester 2, of where is core and where is optional. In semester 1, core wise, you will do qualitative methods and data skills, which the link is in the chat box for. And then there's a couple of options that you could take in semester 1, but obviously throughout the whole year, you're working on your dissertation as well in the background. So it's kind of, we try to keep things balanced between optionals and core and dissertation throughout both of the 2 main semesters. But yeah, in the first semester, it'll be really qualitative and quantitative data skills, and maybe 1 or 2 options, depending on which ones you select.
Right, for biosciences, semester 1, you start straight with, you've got data skills, pick up some R skills, have fun with data, making graphs, and you'll be joining the students and research methods program organized by Phil. And you start also with fundamentals of neuroscience, where you catch up with all the basic neuroscience you need to move on, pick up skills for semester 2. And you also do a course with me on current research topics, where we discuss articles published at the University of Glasgow, and you learn to communicate in writing and in giving presentation without using jargon. And I can tell you it's a lot of fun.
It is. Thanks for that. So in terms of clinical neuropsychology, within the first semester, students will participate in 2 two-week teaching blocks, which are really intensive periods of time in which you will learn the essential foundations of clinical neuropsychology from its leading experts and experts in related fields, including neuroscience, medicine, and allied health professions. We have a wide range of fantastic guest lecturers, many of whom are nationally and internationally renowned. You'll also get to know the course team more closely through a programme of weekly small group tutorials themed around the teaching block content. These, plus private study time and preparation for assessments, which is a mix of essays and exams, will allow you to consolidate the learning obtained within lectures. I've just clocked the time there, and that has been the quickest half an hour ever. So I think that brings us to like a nice close. I'm just going to pop in these helpful links that we've got, so that you've got them, if I can get them. Oh.
There's one question in the Q&A. Someone is asking, will we have to attend all the 3 optional subjects, or are we putting 1 subject out of those 3? I think that's for Maxine.
Maxine, do you want to, if that's...
Sure.
Yeah,
I'm just looking at it now because I had my screen share on. Do you want me to stop sharing my screen now, Naomi?
Yeah, you can do.
Okay, I'll show one more slide because there was a question that's maybe a few of you might want to know the answer to. Will we have that question, will we have to attend all 3 optional subjects, or will we put 1 subject out of 3? So it's all 3 subjects. So it's 3 10-credit courses. And we make sure that the assessments meet the requirements of 10 credits, which is a relatively small number of credits, but you will be assessed on each of the options. We've kind of covered the group work and lab work question in the last one, but there was one question about face-to-face and online teaching. So as you probably know already, we are offering on-campus in-person delivery this year, which we're very excited about. The technology in our lecture theatres means that the majority of lectures are likely to be recorded. We can't guarantee 100%, but generally they will be, and they'll be made available on our website after the lecture. The small group teaching isn't recorded. All of our course materials, everything learning activities are all available on Moodle. If you will experience travel restrictions, delays in obtaining your visa, or any really exceptional circumstances that mean you can't travel to start on time, then contact your programme lead and we will get in touch and support you. If you're interested in how the university is meeting the challenges of moving from online to in person, the teaching planning principles link is there, and also it's on our welcome information sway. But of course, one thing that we've got really quite good at is being flexible in relation to online and in-person delivery. So we do always have a plan B and a plan C in place for our students.